Hello and welcome to Don't Spill the Milk with Cindy and Lynette. I'm Lynette.
Hi, Cindy.
And today we're going to be talking about ways that support people can bond with a baby other than feeding. And I like to start with just talking about who support people are, because often we think it's the partner, and it's not always. There can be other support people as well, such as a grandma or an aunt or trusted friends, friends and family usually. So Cindy, what are some things that you'd like our audience to know about?
The first thing that I always like to acknowledge is that feeding is a nice way to bond with baby. There's no denying that we bond with the babies while we're feeding them, but there are lots of ways to bond with a baby, and other people are usually the first people who start bonding with the baby and show the baby that they can bond with people in ways other than feeding. My very first thing that I suggest to people is usually, and I like to talk to people prenatally about this if I can, is skin to skin contact. It's such a beautiful way of connecting with a baby. And there's lots of reasons why it works, but really one of the main ones is oxytocin. We have this hormone called oxytocin, the love hormone, that our bodies release when we're skin to skin with people. Babies are people, and so their body releases oxytocin, our body releases oxytocin, and it really, really kind of solidifies that connection. It's a wonderful way of bonding with the baby.
Yes. And so when you say skin to skin, that means taking baby's clothes off and just having baby in the diaper, and the support person lifting up their shirt and putting baby onto their actual skin.
Yeah. People are sometimes a bit resistant to that when I suggest it. Let's say I'm working with a family and the feeding parent is needing to do a pumping session or just take a few minutes to themselves to go to the bathroom or something. And the baby is fussy or just needs a little snuggle. And I'll sometimes suggest to the other support person, maybe try a bit of skin on skin. And sometimes they're like, maybe I'll try that later. They're a little resistant, and I'm not sure what that's all about. But if you nudge a little bit and just kind of encourage it, when it happens, you see the baby just kind of settle and calm, and the other person, the adult, sort of melting into this feeling, this feel good feeling of all this hormonal release and all this lovely, juicy baby feeling, you know? Skin to skin usually works better. I'm going to bring out my little doll again. Usually works ideally when the baby is in this position. So kind of that little froggy position that newborns love to be in. So it doesn't tend to work as well when babies are like this. Babies like to be tummy to tummy with whoever's snuggling with them, right? So that's a really ideal skin to skin position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So another way that support people can bond with the baby that's actually very similar to skin is baby wearing. And so that's something that I think that probably Cindy and I both talk about as well to prenatal families, and especially postnatal, is having a carrier on hand so that you can wear your baby.
Yes. Yeah. Baby wearing is such a nice way of going about your day with your hands free and accomplishing at least a couple of things. Don't go crazy and bake a cake with your baby in a sling, but if you need to get a few little things done, it's a nice way. The other thing is you can actually baby wear while skin to skin. There's nothing saying you can't just take your top off, get the baby in its carrier skin to skin with you. You keep the baby nice and warm, and they keep you nice and warm. They're like a little hot water bottle. And it's a lovely way of bonding and building trust and connection with the baby.
Yeah. What are some other things, Cindy, that parents could do or support people could do?
Yeah, some of the other things are anything in a supportive role. So burping the baby, changing the baby, bathing with the baby. Newborns sometimes don't love having a bath. They don't like being in a container by themselves while somebody bathes them. But most of them quite enjoy being in a big bathtub with just a few inches of water, but with an adult. And you can lay them along your legs or whatever is comfortable. So if that feels like something that might work for your family, it often works for the baby. They usually really like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can think of?
I think you named it. A lot of cuddling and especially calming down the baby. Maybe if mom just or a parent needs a break,
Yeah.
and doing some just down regulating so that baby can calm down. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's really helpful to the feeding situation too, isn't it? We
Yeah.
get the other person calming the baby, then the baby is ready for the next latch or the next attempt at feeding or yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
even just going outside with the baby just to change the scenery, a little bit of fresh air. Um, that'll sometimes switch things up a little bit too for the baby and just kind of help them calm.
Yeah.
Um, dancing with the baby, anything, right? Rocking. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's something that we want to acknowledge because some people may ask, well, why can't we just feed the baby? And what we want to share is that sometimes someone else feeding the baby can actually create more work for the feeding parent, because she's needing to pump, clean, or sanitize the pumping supplies, or, and or sometimes they just sit there and watch the support person feed the baby.
When you're used to being the one feeding, sometimes you can't just go say, I'm just gonna go have a nap or have a bath or whatever. Sometimes it feels weird to walk away from your baby eating with somebody else. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it definitely someone else feeding the baby can be really helpful in some situations, and time saving. But frequently, it can actually cause more work and more energy expenditure for the feeding parent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to kind of balance that and keep that in mind and figure out what works for you. But I
That's
really
right.
feel like other care providers for that baby, there's a huge lot of things that they can do and learn to do in order to make really beautiful bond with that baby. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
So tune in for our next episode. We'll see you.
See you then.